Hi, hope you're well, happy, healthy, enjoying your lives. And again, I hope that these lessons are helping you in that process and also that your loved ones are benefiting from it. Today, we're going to talk about romantic rejection, the feeling that we have been rejected or not loved by a romantic partner. This is one of the most devastating of emotional experiences is the loss of a loved one, which could be because of the soul leaving the body or because of a separation. In this particular lesson, we're going to talk about romantic rejection. That is when we separate from someone and we feel rejected, perhaps. And we will deal in another lesson on how to heal ourselves after the loss of a loved one who leaves the physical body. Now, um, we will need to employ energy psychology on a variety of emotions that may come up with this experience. And I'm going to share with you from my experience of working with people what that might be. We tend to believe that our security, happiness, and self-worth are dependent on the specific loved one that we're connected to at the particular time. And this is largely the result of childhood experiences in which we did not receive all of the love and acceptance that we needed from a parent. And this, we often seek that through the spouse. So, in order to overcome our pain in these situations, we may need to deal with childhood experiences, which we won't be working on at this today anyway. And we'll see if we can find a way to work on that. It's an issue which really needs to be done in person rather than on the internet. And we'll see how that can be done. So, employing energy psychology on romantic rejection. Here's a list of the emotions you might feel when someone leaves us. Below each emotion, there are some positive phrases that you can use. This is a guide. Don't be limited by these phrases. You can find many other ways of alternative perceptions for dealing with the pain and other emotions. So the first emotion we may feel is being rejected or demeaned or losing our self-worth because he or she chooses not to be with us. This is a very common perception. It has nothing to do with reality. We don't lose our self-worth. We've already talked about that. And here's a possible phrase. Even though until now I felt rejected, demeaned, or worthless because, and then we put the name of the person, left me, I now feel or realize or experience that my self-worth as a unique being without him or her. It's important that we establish our sense of self-worth as totally independent of the behaviors, the beliefs, and the choices of this other soul. Another is the fear of continuing life without this person. We may fear that we just can't do that. We need that person to feel worthy or safe or secure. And so, a possible phrase for EFT here would be even though until now I feared continuing life without the name of the person, I now feel or realize or experience self confidence and that I'm a powerfully capable of dealing with life. That power to deal with life is within me. It was never in the other person. So it's very important to understand that. It was never there. It was always with us. We allowed ourselves to feel it with the other person, but it was always within us. Fear or shame of what others will think about me now that he or she has left, also a common uh, emotion. Even though until now I feared what others would think because this person left, I now feel or realize or experience that my self-worth as a unique being regardless of what they think. Our self-worth is not a function of what these people may think. It's a given. It has to do with our inner essence. We talked about this in an earlier class on self-acceptance. fear that I will not find anyone else to share my life with. I think millions or perhaps billions of people have shown this to be wrong. We can also find other people to connect with and to be happy with. Even though until now I feared I will not find anyone else to share my life with, I am now confident that I deserve and will attract the perfect being for me. No reason to believe that there's no one else out there for me to be happy. There's a small story about a bird sitting on a branch, and it's enjoying the resting on the branch and singing and eating and even sleeping on the branch. And this wind comes, and the branch is probably going to break, but the bird is not afraid. And why is the bird not afraid? Because it knows two things: that it can fly, it has the power to fly, it doesn't need the branch, and secondly, there are other branches. So we can also fly without the specific person, and there are other persons that we can also connect with. Hurt, pain, unhappiness, loneliness of not having this person to hold, to share, to make love to communicate with. Well, this is very natural. It's very acceptable to feel this way. But we need to get free from that. So even though until now I felt hurt, pain, unhappiness, loneliness, because I do not have this person to hold, share, make love with, communicate with, I now experience the fullness of my being and of my life and lovingly connect to those around me. There's a song by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. If you can't be with the one you love, love the one you're with. Now, I'm not saying you should replace this person with any other person. What I'm saying is there are other people, and also we can feel fulfilled within ourselves and our life purpose. Another feeling: injustice, bitterness, resentment, betrayal, that he or she is unjustly harming or betraying or hurting me in this way, especially if they have left because they have found someone else. It would be a very natural feeling to feel betrayed. And no one can accuse us of feeling that way. It's very natural to feel that way. Even though until now I have felt injustice, bitterness, resentment, betrayal because this person left and behaved unjustly, I now have faith that life gives me exactly what I need for my growth process. So rather than feeling pain, let's see how we can get stronger, how we can feel our self worth, how we can feel safe and happy without this person or with some other person. So it's a growth opportunity rather than suffering. Why suffer? Guilt or self rejection because I feel that I am to blame for his or her leaving. Some people may get into that trip. Okay. So even though until now I felt guilty or self rejection because the other person left me, I now forgive and love myself, realizing that I have done and will do my best. We did our best. We may be able to do something differently now, but at that time, we did the best we could considering our evolutionary process, but also the soul agreements that we had made with the other person. And it's important to understand that these situations are the function of soul agreements and not by chance. It's not by chance that there's been a separation if it actually takes place. Let's do whatever we can for it not to take place. But once it has taken place, and if we cannot fix it, let's move on and use this as a growth process. Jealousy, if he or she is with someone else, it's also very natural to feel. No reason to reject ourselves because we feel this way. Even though until now I felt jealous because the other is with someone else, I now feel the fullness of my being and trust that life gives me exactly what I need for my growth process of self actualization. There's so much to be gained by going through such an experience. We're not seeking such an experience to gain, to grow. But once it happens, we can learn so much, we become so much stronger, have a such much better relationship with ourselves and others after such an experience. Anger, hate, revenge, because he or she has caused me so much pain. So we're believing that the other person is responsible for what we're feeling, when actually we have learned in this course that the other person is only responsible for what they have done. They're not responsible for the emotions that we create within ourselves with what they have done. They did whatever they did, but we are creating the emotions within ourselves. We are creating the suffering. So even though until now I felt angry, hateful, or revengeful because this person left me or is with someone else, I now realize I am perfectly capable of being happy and fulfilled without him or her. This is truth. So many billions of people have lost their loved ones since the beginning of humanity, either because the other being left as a soul or the other being left as a body, that is, that we separated. So many billions of people have once again found their happiness, their life purpose, and, and satisfaction. It's a shame to fall into these illusions. Depression, disillusionment, discouragement that I cannot have what I want and cannot do anything about it. We can't force the other person to love us. And of course, we can't bring them back from the dead. That's another class, of course. Uh, so, since there's nothing I can do, it's natural to feel depression or disillusionment or discouragement. Even though until now I have felt depressed, disillusioned, discouraged because I could not have what I wanted, basically, I now realize, feel, experience that I have the power to create the life I want. Let's start creating that life. If it's not with that person, by ourselves or with another person. Now, it should not take long. My experience is that with energy psychology, it should not take long to go over these emotions. In my perception, in my experience, what used to take years can take a week or less. Really, I'm being sincere here. A week or less of doing EFT every day can free us, and the other techniques will be adding to it. I've experienced it personally. I've seen it with so many people. Energy psychology is very powerful for overcoming the illusion of these emotions. So we help no one by feeling these emotions. We don't help ourselves. We don't help the other person. We don't help those around us. It's better to get on with our lives, and energy psychology will help us with that. Now, below there are some thoughts about what we can gain from such a situation, what we can learn, learning from a relationship breakdown. So, what can we learn? A divorce or separation, or in general any loss of an important relationship, is a peaceful, uh, is a painful experience. Such pain can seriously diminish our peace and happiness. We can, however, use this inner discomfort for our spiritual benefit. Inner discomfort for our spiritual benefit. So, if we are thinking of separating, there are many lessons we need to examine before we can come to the conclusion that we must separate from someone. Many people separate very early without exhausting all the possibilities of unity with that person. I am for staying together. But if it happens that the other leaves or the separation has already happened, we may be able to benefit from the following. The first lesson is to examine our behavior and see how we may have contributed to this problem. Only in this way can we create a new healthy relationship if we choose to. So, relationships are mirrors, and this relationship that is over was mirroring something in us. We talked about this when we talked about the Ho'oponopono and the mirror of life. So, the first thing is to say, okay, well, how did I participate in this? What was I doing which may have made it uncomfortable for that person? And we can examine the following. We may have been criticizing, complaining, rejecting, or otherwise causing the other person to feel unaccepted. Think about it. Were we doing this? And if so, we want to get free from that need. Otherwise, the next relationship will be the same. We may have been seeking continual affirmation in ways that may have been tiring the other person. You know, it's tiring to have someone who needs to hear so many times a day that we agree with them or love them or going to stay with them. So we may have tired the other person with our need for affirmation. Our fears may have been causing us to be oversensitive to what the other person is doing and annoying. So the other person has some needs, and if those needs cause us to feel fearful, then we may have become negative. So we want to see if we have any fears that are causing us to be oversensitive and overcome them. Perhaps we are playing power games about who is right or who is more successful or whose decision is going to be employed. These power games are very destructive to our relationships. We might have been playing roles such as the child, the parent, the savior, the holy one, the rebel, the teacher, or some other role which may have affected the other's behavior. We want to look at our roles. We talked about roles, and we'll talk again about roles in much more detail. We may have feelings of guilt that were making us vulnerable to the other's words and behavior, that we're overreacting because of our guilt or because, as we mentioned earlier, our fear. What the other person has done is not doing is not so horrible, but our guilt or our fears are making us react in negative ways. Perhaps we were not communicating our needs clearly and effectively as an adult, and we were suppressing ourselves or complaining or criticizing or threatening. We need to learn to express our needs with I messages. Now, that'll be another seminar, effective communication. So, we need to learn how to express to the other what we need and what we feel when we're not getting what we need and what we believe, which is causing us to need and feel that way without criticism, without threatening, without complaining. Otherwise, the communication hasn't taken place. When we criticize, the other person doesn't hear the need, it hears the criticism. When we are becoming aggressive, they close up. They don't hear what we're asking. We may have been projecting onto the other our childhood or other experiences. Another problem. I have seen this so many times when couples have come to me. Within about 10 minutes of the discussion, we're not talking about their relationship, but the relationship with their parents, which they are reflecting on each other. And they're not experiencing each other, they're experiencing each other through the projection of their experience with their parents. So it's very possible that this relationship didn't work out because we were projecting onto the other our own fears and sensitivities. The other may have been reflecting back to us our lack of self-esteem or self-respect. We also talked about this about the mirror of life. People reflect to us our own behavior towards ourselves. And we have become, that is, if we're not respecting ourselves, we find them not respecting us. Okay? We're not caring for our needs, we're not respecting our own needs, they're not respecting them. We may have had attachments that were coming between us. So the more attachments we have, the more possibility of conflict with people around us when they function in ways that obstruct us from satisfying our attachments. So we may want to look at maybe we have attachments that make us difficult to be with people, and maybe the next relationship will have the same problem. We may have had inner conflicts which are reflecting back to us from the other. So if I'm having an inner conflict and I'm fighting in myself about something, the other may mirror that back to me, and I have a problem with him when the fact is that my problem is with myself. We may need so the first lesson was all of that. That is to look at our own behavior and see what may be within us, which may have been contributing to the problem. So the first lesson is to look at ourselves. The second lesson is we may need to learn to love the other in spite of his or her behavior, regardless of whether we stay with that person or not. Now, I have never understood why people, when they separate, have to have negative feelings and have to even speak to their children negatively about the other or to other people. We, at some point, had a feeling for that person. We shared things. That person has most likely given us much more positive energy than thousands of people that have given us nothing. Why feel these negative feelings towards that person, regardless of whether or not we decide to stay with that person? So there's always the lesson of love. It's always the lesson. We may not need to stay with that person. Okay, that's acceptable. But we always need to be able to love and care for that person and be there for them if they need us. We also may have the lesson to learn that we can be happy without this person. That happiness and security and love are internal states that are always within us if only we allow ourselves to experience them. So the third lesson is that I can be happy and have a fruitful life even without this person. Okay. Fourthly, it's a great opportunity to develop greater inner strength in order to feel confident and be able to face whatever may come in life. So to feel our inner strength, feel self-worth, self-confidence, that the ability that, okay, even without this other person, we are totally able to deal with life. That person was not always in our lives. So was our lives horrible until we met that person? We existed 20 or 30 or maybe even 40 years before we connected with that person, or say 15 at least. So why should they be totally necessary for me to deal with life? It's simply not a truth. And I'm not talking philosophically now, I'm talking reality. The reality is that we have existed on this planet without that relationship. And billions of people, everyone, because we all are going to leave this physical realm, we will eventually live our lives without. So it's important to understand that there was a time we did not have that person, and likely there's going to be a time where we don't have for some reason. Most of us will need to change our self-image. We need to accept, love, and respect ourselves more so that we not create the same problem in our next relationship or life in general. Change our self-image. I'm not saying feeling better about others. We're not better than anybody, and we are not without faults. But as souls in the process of evolution, we deserve love and respect as we are. And if we don't love and respect ourselves, and we don't love and respect the others, then we're not going to ever be happy. We need to cultivate that. By directing our energies in a spiritual direction and developing a relationship with God or the universal being or the source, whatever you want to call it, we are no longer as vulnerable and as dependent on others for our feelings of security and self-worth. I call this a vertical relationship or an inner relationship. The more we can feel fulfilled through this relationship, our connection with the divine, with life, with the universe, whatever you want to call it, the less we need to take from the other person, the less dependent we are, and the less negative we are when they're not satisfying our needs. We may also lead to learn that the other person's decision to leave, if the other person decides to leave, may not be a rejection. He or she may love us and respect us dearly, but be forced to seek happiness elsewhere. Now, these are what I call soul decisions. That we both have learned something through this relationship. Now, the other person may have other lessons to learn that haven't got to, and we may have other lessons to learn. Now, there was a time when these relationships lasted a lifetime. And it's wonderful to see people that continue and are able to do that, to make those inner adjustments, I hope out of love and not out of fear of being alone. And there are many people that are able to do that, but there's a large majority of people that are not able to do it. And so each of these relationships has a learning process. So we learn together, and now we're going to learn through somebody else, and they're going to learn with someone else. And we're just souls that have been enhanced by our contact together. We have learned, we have taught, we have learned, and so there's no reason to have negative feelings towards the others. Now, our lessons can be separated into 5 categories. We may need to learn to communicate more effectively, assertively, and lovingly. I'll be offering this seminar on communication. Perhaps we need to let go of some attachments which are increasing our conflicts with others and diminishing our happiness. So, second lesson, let go of the attachments that are creating the tension and also making us unhappy. We're not talking about attachments to moral behaviors. Okay, we we're not saying not ask the person to be fair or loving. Okay, but attachments to smoking or attachments to certain foods or attachments to certain activities, we can perhaps adjust if they're creating problems. Examine our behaviors that might be annoying the others. We mentioned that above. Free ourselves from subconscious programmings that limit our self-esteem and ability to attract behaviors that we deserve. So we need to look at what's going on in the inner child and the subconscious. We tend to attract from our spouse similar behaviors that we experience from our parents. And it's a known fact that children with alcoholic parents often end up with alcoholic or dependent spouses. So we want to free the subconscious from any of the programmings that may be causing us to reenact over and over situations. And definitely want to develop inner feelings of security, self-worth, and freedom. Feel self-worth within us, security within us, and even freedom within us when we need to make choices which are perhaps doing what the other person needs, but we can choose to do what they need out of love and not out of fear of conflict or not of the role of the good guy. Okay, that is out of love. And there are times when freedom actually means doing what the other person needs and being free from our own attachment. So our happiness, once our happiness and security and love have been internalized, then we can experience what we call unconditional love because we don't need so much from the other person in order to feel love for them. When we are dependent on them for feeling our self-worth, security, or freedom, then our love cannot be unconditional. We lose it when they don't act as we need. So, although we need to make every possible step to heal our relationships, if and when the relationship breaks down, there is much we can still learn and benefit from that. So, now, please choose a situation in which you have felt rejected or abandoned by a love partner. If you can't find that, then see if you have been rejected or abandoned by a parent or a sibling or someone else, or you could just imagine that. And we're going to do EFT, BSFF, Ho'oponopono, Siddhana, and brain balancing to free ourselves from the negative emotions. Okay, so we'll stop the share here, and you can prepare yourselves for the exercise that we are going to do. Okay, so you can focus. You can close your eyes for a bit. And breathe slowly and deeply. Relax in that position with the spine straight. And allow to flow through your mind any situations, starting out with partners, love partners, where you may have felt rejected or abandoned. See if there are any such situations that you have gone through. Also examine if there are situations in which you felt abandoned or rejected by your parents. Or by any other beings. Now choose a specific stimulus, specific event, and allow yourself to feel the feelings that you felt at that time, and perhaps are all still feeling to some degree. So feel those feelings. Allow yourself to feel the feelings, and let us accept them. These are energies created by our minds. Let us accept that our mind has the tendency to feel this way. Now let's make the agreement with the subconscious, with the inner child, the pain body, our higher self, and the divine, to be freed from all illusions, attachments, false perceptions, emotions that are preventing us from feeling, from experiencing our divine nature, our inner self-worth, security, freedom, happiness, and love. So we're choosing to let go of these emotions. Okay, now you can rub on the point, the sensitive point, with your right hand on the left side. You'll remember this from the previous lessons. Or if you like, I can change the image a bit here. Okay, so rubbing and saying inwardly, and even though until now I have felt, say the emotion, because, say the stimulus, I love and accept myself. Even though until now I have felt, refer to the emotions, and the stimulus, I love and accept myself. One more time. Even though until now I have felt, mention the emotion and the stimulus. Now on the other side, I choose to be free from this, mention the emotions and the stimulus. I want to be free. It's in my benefit to be free from these emotions and these stimulus. Okay, so now we start the tapping at the back of the neck and come over the head, the top of the head, coming down to the forehead, and then to the side of the head. We have this stimulus in mind, coming back to the neck and then coming up again and coming forward again. And now with two fingers at the bridge of the nose, and then tapping alternatively, right and left, alternatively. Then behind, on the temples, behind the ears, focusing on the stimulus and on those emotions, under the eyes, above and below the lips, under the arms, on the collarbone, on the wrists, and the side of the hand, okay? So two more times. Focus on the emotions, back of the neck, top of the head, forehead, side of the head, neck again, alternatively coming up, all the points on the head and the forehead, two fingers at the bridge of the nose, coming to the temples, behind the ears, under the eyes. Have the emotions in your mind, feel the emotions, lips above and below, under the arms, on the collarbone, wrist points, side of the hand. Let's do that one more time. Back of the neck, have the emotions in mind. Top of the head, coming over forehead, side of the head, on the neck again, hitting all those points, changing the energy, coming up, forehead, 2 fingers at the bridge of the nose, temples, behind the ears, on the cheeks, and the lips above and below, under the arms, the armpits, the collarbone area, and the wrists, and the side of the hand. Now sit straight, close your eyes, relax, take a few deep breaths. Bring to your mind the stimulus that you chose to work on this issue. Feel the feelings, whatever feelings are left, accept them. And we remember the agreement with the subconscious, the inner child, the pain body, our higher self, and the divine, to let go of all obstacles towards feeling our inner self-worth, security, freedom, happiness, peace, and love. We choose to be free. And we're going to do the BSFF, so you can repeat after me, tapping now at the eyebrows. In relationship to this experience, I let go of all pain and all causes and roots of pain. Repeat after me. In the subconscious, in this dimension, and all other dimensions. Now on the cheeks. In relationship to this situation, this experience, I let go of all fear and anxiety and all causes of fear and anxiety in the subconscious, in this dimension and all other dimensions. Now in the index finger. In relationship to this experience, I let go of all guilt, feelings of rejection or shame, and all causes and roots of shame or rejection or guilt in the subconscious, in this dimension and all other dimensions of the small finger. In relationship to this experience, I let go of all anger, in all roots and causes of anger, in the subconscious, in this dimension and all other dimensions. Now at the forehead again. In relationship to this experience, I let go of all trauma and all memory of trauma in the subconscious, in this dimension and all other dimensions. Index finger, I forgive myself for all participation in this situation. I did whatever I could, and I'm doing whatever I can. Small finger, I forgive the others for all participation in this experience. They did whatever they could with their childhood experiences, with their illusions, and with our soul contracts for our evolutionary process. Now sit with the spine straight, close your eyes, breathe more deeply, and let's relax. Take a deep inhalation, hold the breath, and with the exhalation, relax. Another deep inhalation, hold the breath, and with the exhalation, relax. Let's do that one more time. A deep inhalation, holding the breath, exhaling and relaxing. Now let's straighten the spine. Let's allow the abdomen to relax and the solar plexus to relax. Let's allow our shoulders to relax and arms. Let's allow the jaw to relax and the cheeks. The eyes. The forehead relaxes. Just feel that opening at the top of the head to the sky, to the universe, and if you like, to the divine. It's a soul learning process that we have chosen at some level of our being to learn something. Let us think a bit about what we might learn. Think of the lessons we spoke about earlier. Feeling our self-worth as internal and non-negotiable. Feeling our inner power, feeling safe. Our inner fulfillment without anyone else. What can we learn from this experience? How can we become stronger, more self-sufficient, happier? How can we benefit from this experience? Now let us feel gratitude for the experience, for the opportunities for growth that it's offering us. Now let us feel love for ourselves as we are. Let us love ourselves as we are. Now we free this experience from needing to be repeated in our lives. We have learned our lessons. We don't need it anymore. So we free the experience from any need to occur again. We become free. And we thank the divine and the divine light flowing in us for removing anything within us which may attract this kind of experience. Any participation we may have in co-creating such experiences. Let us allow all of those causes to be removed. And let's allow all the effect on us by these experiences to be removed. Any pain or distrust, let any possible effect on us be healed, so that it is as if it never happened. erasing all effects. All causes are being erased and all effects are being erased. Now we're going to do the Siddhana method. We realize that we are not our emotions. These are energies which are created by our thoughts, our beliefs. And we allow them to expand and to flow out of our bodies. Expand and flow out of our energy bodies. And expand and flow out of our mind. Allowing us to feel our being as separate from those emotions, free from those emotions. That is the truth of who we are. We are not our emotions. And we become aware of the beliefs, the needs that created those emotions, beliefs about our self-worth, or our safety, our happiness, what other people think. Which are the beliefs that were creating those emotions? And let's allow the light to dissolve those beliefs so that we can experience within ourselves our fullness, our self-worth, our power, our completeness. Let's accept being free. Accept being happy. Now we're going to do the brain balancing posture, placing the right ankle over the left, the right wrist over the left, with the fingers enmeshed, the arms straight or folded. Be relaxed in this position. Feel the calming energy of this position. And allow to come into your mind a truth, an alternative perception, which frees you from any suffering in relationship to this experience. What is the truth? The alternative perception which frees you. Focus on that truth. You have existed without this being. You're an expression of the divine. Which truth will help you? And focus on it and experience it in all of the cells of your body. Allow yourself to be free from any pain, any negative emotions, and to experience the fullness of your being. Accept letting go of pain and experiencing peace and fullness. It's okay to be happy. You deserve to be happy. Now you can change your feet And hands, placing the left above, uniting the fingers, arms straight or folded, and relax. And allow to come into your mind another perception or belief or truth, which also frees you from any unpleasant emotions in relationship to this experience. What do you want to remember which frees you? And focus on that and allow it to become an experience, a feeling in all of the body and mind. And just as the light effortlessly dissolves darkness, allow this truth to dissolve any resistance, any tendency to feel anything but peace and happiness. Allow yourself to be happy. Now we can place our palms in the center of the chest and relax in this position of unity with ourselves, feeling the healing energy flowing from our palms into our heart center, healing our heart center, feeling peace, feeling unity with ourselves, feeling self-acceptance and self-fulfillment, a feeling of fullness, of being whole. And feeling our connection, if you choose, with the divine, however you perceive the divine, feeling that connection, that love relationship, and in that state of fullness and of peace, you may want to bring the other person to mind and wish them to be well. To wish them to be happy. You might want to thank them for the opportunity for growth. It's your choice if you want to thank them and if you want to wish them well. You may even want trying to feel love for them. It's your choice. If you choose, and wish for them to be well. Now I'm going to count from 1 to 5 so that we can complete the exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can gradually come to a waking state. Okay, I hope you're able to arrive at a state of inner peace in relationship to that experience. It's certainly in our benefit and in the benefit of humanity, because every time we overcome negative feelings, those negative feelings are lessened in our common subconscious or morphogenetic field or our united consciousness. So every time we heal ourselves, we heal actually a very small part, perhaps, of humanity and of our close energy connections to people around us. So this work that we're doing is really benefiting everyone, not just ourselves. I hope that you will perform this exercise a number of times so that you can become totally free from any kind of pain or resentment or hurt or rejection from this experience. Be well, be happy.